Ethiopia, a nation long admired for its rich history, a land of ancient civilizations and breathtaking landscapes, now faces a period of profound challenge. Its story, etched in the annals of time from the Queen of Sheba to the rise of the Ethiopian Orthodox Church, has captivated the world for centuries. And vibrant culture, a tapestry woven with diverse ethnic groups, languages and traditions, finds itself at a crossroads. A pivotal moment that will determine its future trajectory. The choices made today will resonate for generations to come. The country is grappling with a multifaceted crisis, a complex web of interconnected challenges that demand immediate attention and long-term solutions. That threatens its very stability. The foundations of this ancient nation are being tested as never before. Multiple regions are engulfed in armed conflict, with clashes erupting across the country, displacing communities and sowing seeds of discord. Fueled by ethnic tensions, long-standing grievances, and competition for resources. These divisions, if left unaddressed, could tear the nation apart. And political grievances. The cries for justice, equality, and representation echo throughout the land. The government's response, often reactive rather than proactive, often characterized by heavy-handed tactics, has drawn criticism from both domestic and international observers, has further inflamed the situation, deepening the divide between the government and the people. Amidst this turmoil, a humanitarian crisis is unfolding. Ordinary citizens, the backbone of the nation, doctors, tirelessly working to save lives amidst shortages of supplies and personnel, teachers, struggling to educate the next generation in the face of immense challenges, journalists, risking their lives to report the truth, often facing censorship and intimidation, are caught in the crossfire. Their hopes and dreams overshadowed by fear and uncertainty. Their lives and livelihoods hanging in the balance. Displacement, hunger, and disease are rampant. The specter of a wider civil war looms large, threatening to engulf the entire nation in a protracted and devastating conflict, raising concerns about the future of this East African nation, a key player in regional stability and development. The current crisis is complex, a tangled web of political, economic, and social factors, with deep historical roots, stretching back centuries and shaping the present-day landscape. And a multitude of actors, each with their own agendas and interests, further complicating the search for a lasting solution. To comprehend the gravity of the situation, and to chart a course towards a more peaceful and prosperous future, it is essential to examine the underlying causes, the key drivers of the conflict, including issues of land ownership, resource scarcity, and political marginalization, the government's response, its policies and actions, and their impact on the various communities within Ethiopia, and the potential consequences not only for Ethiopia itself, but also for the stability and security of the entire Horn of Africa region, for Ethiopia, its people and its future, and the wider region. The ripple effects of this crisis could destabilize neighboring countries and exacerbate existing conflicts. The path ahead is fraught with uncertainty, a complex and challenging journey that requires courage, wisdom, and a commitment to dialogue. But understanding the current dynamics, the root causes of the conflict, and the perspectives of all stakeholders is crucial for navigating towards a peaceful resolution. A resolution that upholds justice, promotes equality, and ensures a brighter future for all Ethiopians. Ethiopia, a nation steeped in history and cultural richness, is currently facing a period of intense internal strife. The heartland of this East African nation is racked by violence, threatening to destabilize the entire region. The clashes and conflicts are not isolated incidents. They represent a complex web of political, ethnic, and socio-economic tensions that have been simmering for years, now boiling over into open warfare. The situation demands immediate attention and a comprehensive approach to address the root causes of the unrest. With three regions at the epicenter of the storm, Amhara, Oromia, and Tigray, each grappling with its own unique set of challenges and conflicts. These regions, diverse in their ethnic makeup and political aspirations, have become the primary battlegrounds in a multifaceted civil conflict. Understanding the specific dynamics within each of these regions is crucial to comprehending the overall crisis engulfing Ethiopia. The future of Ethiopia hinges on the ability to navigate these complex regional conflicts and forge a path towards lasting peace and stability. Amhara, a region known for its rugged terrain and rich cultural heritage, is currently embroiled in a fierce conflict between the Ethiopian National Defense Force and the Fano militia. Oromia, Ethiopia's largest region, is experiencing a surge in violence due to the ongoing insurgency led by the Oromo Liberation Army, and Tigray, still recovering from the devastating effects of a recent war, remains a region fraught with tension and uncertainty. In Amhara, the Ethiopian National Defense Force is locked in a bitter struggle with the Fano militia, a conflict that has intensified in recent months, leading to widespread instability and displacement. The fighting is not confined to specific areas but has spread throughout the region, impacting both urban centers and rural communities. This armed group, comprised mainly of Amhara youth, represents a significant challenge to the authority of the central government. The Fano militia has gained control over vast swaths of the countryside, effectively establishing a parallel administration in many areas and disrupting essential services. Their presence is deeply felt in the rural communities where they command considerable influence and support. This control challenges the government's authority and its ability to maintain law and order in the region. The situation is further complicated by the complex political landscape and the deep-seated grievances that fuel the conflict. The conflict has resulted in a humanitarian crisis, with access to essential services severely limited and the delivery of aid hampered by the ongoing fighting. There are credible reports of civilian casualties and widespread displacement as people flee their homes in search of safety and security. The humanitarian situation is dire, with many people in urgent need of food, water, shelter, and medical assistance. In Oromia, Ethiopia's largest region, the Oromo population faces unique challenges. The Oromo Liberation Army is waging an insurgency, seeking to advance the interests and rights of the Oromo people. The OLA enjoys considerable support among the Oromo population, who have long felt marginalized and excluded from the political and economic mainstream. The group is fighting for greater autonomy and self-determination, seeking to address historical grievances and ensure the Oromo people have a greater say in their own affairs. The Oromo Liberation Army has been blamed for attacks on government installations and civilians, acts that have further fueled instability and exacerbated tensions in the region. These attacks have further fueling instability and creating a climate of fear and uncertainty. The conflict in Oromia is particularly concerning, given the region's strategic importance and its large population, making it a key player in Ethiopia's future. The region's stability is crucial for the overall stability of Ethiopia, due to the region's strategic importance and its large population. The Tigray region, still reeling from a devastating two-year war that has left deep scars on its people and infrastructure, faces an uncertain future. Despite the ceasefire agreement, the region remains a tinderbox, with the potential for renewed conflict always looming. While a ceasefire agreement was signed in November 2022, bringing a formal end to the war, the underlying tensions and grievances remain unresolved. These tensions persist, fueled by a lack of trust and lingering political divisions. The Tigray People's Liberation Front, once the dominant force in Ethiopian politics, continues to wield significant influence in the region. Despite its diminished role in national politics, the TPLF remains a potent force in the region, capable of mobilizing support and influencing events. Sporadic clashes between the TPLF and government forces continue to be reported in certain areas, undermining the ceasefire agreement and creating a climate of instability. These clashes are hindering efforts to deliver humanitarian aid to the region, exacerbating the suffering of the civilian population. The ongoing instability is preventing aid organizations from reaching those most in need, leaving the region's beleaguered population in a precarious situation, struggling to survive in the face of immense challenges. Faced with mounting security challenges, the Ethiopian government has responded with force. A state of emergency, declared in November 2020, remains in effect, granting the government sweeping powers to quell dissent. The security forces have been accused of human rights abuses, including arbitrary arrests, extrajudicial killings, and torture. The government's heavy-handed tactics, while intended to restore order, have often had the opposite effect, further alienating communities and exacerbating grievances. The government argues that its actions are necessary to combat terrorism and maintain national unity. However, critics contend that the government is using the pretext of security to stifle dissent and consolidate power. The lack of accountability for human rights violations has deepened mistrust between the government and the people, creating a vicious cycle of violence and repression. Ethiopia's ongoing crisis, marked by conflict and instability, has had a devastating impact, leaving deep scars across the nation. The ripple effects of this turmoil are far-reaching, touching every facet of Ethiopian society. The crisis has placed immense strain on the country's already fragile health and education systems, pushing them to the brink of collapse. These essential services, vital for the well-being and future of Ethiopia, are struggling to cope with the overwhelming challenges. Doctors and teachers, essential pillars of any society, the very foundation upon which a healthy and prosperous nation is built, find themselves caught in the crossfire, facing unimaginable pressures and risks as they strive to serve their communities. Hospitals and schools have become targets, symbols of hope and progress now marred by violence and destruction. This deliberate targeting is depriving communities of vital services, leaving vulnerable populations without access to healthcare and education. Medical professionals face shortages of essential supplies and equipment, struggling to provide adequate care with limited resources. The lack of medicine, bandages, and other crucial items is putting lives at risk. Meanwhile, teachers struggle to educate children in the midst of conflict, creating makeshift classrooms and finding innovative ways to keep learning alive despite the chaos and uncertainty. The plight of doctors and teachers is further compounded by their own grievances, adding another layer of complexity to an already dire situation. Low salaries, poor working conditions, often in overcrowded and under-resourced facilities, and a lack of opportunities for professional development, leaving them feeling stagnant and undervalued, have led to widespread discontent within these professions, creating a sense of frustration and disillusionment among those who dedicate their lives to serving others. In recent months, there have been reports of strikes and protests, a desperate attempt to draw attention to their plight and demand change. These actions are being taken by doctors and teachers demanding better pay and improved working conditions, hoping to create a more sustainable and supportive environment for themselves and their colleagues. The government's response has been mixed, a combination of promises and actions that have left many feeling uncertain about the future. While some concessions have been offered, representing a glimmer of hope for progress, there have also been reports of intimidation and arrests of those who speak out, raising concerns about freedom of expression and the right to peaceful assembly. The space for free expression and dissent in Ethiopia has shrunk dramatically in recent years. The government's crackdown on independent media, civil society organizations, and opposition political parties has created a climate of fear and self-censorship. Journalists have been arrested, harassed, and forced into exile for reporting on sensitive issues. Human rights defenders face similar risks for documenting abuses and advocating for the rights of marginalized communities. The government's actions have had a chilling effect on public discourse. Critical voices are silenced, and alternative viewpoints are stifled. This lack of open and democratic debate hinders efforts to find peaceful solutions to the country's problems. The international community has condemned the crackdown on civil society, urging the Ethiopian government to respect fundamental freedoms and uphold the rule of law.